Watch Rolly and Andy, Magic in Us, Sundays at 8 p.m. on Aquaba Magic, DSTV channel 150. Aquaba Magic, welcome home.
Hello, good afternoon and welcome to the Midday News. We're live from Joy 99.7 FM here in Accra. In Kumasi, it's Love 99.5 FM and affiliates across Ghana, including ATL FM in Cape Coast and Dreams FM in Bogatanga. You can also download the My Joy Online app from Play Store and App Store to listen live on the internet as well as on Facebook as well. In this edition, pushed by some residents of Santro Kofi, Akpafu, Lolobi and Likpe in the Oti Region to challenge election of John Peter Amewu as Hohoe MP fails yet again. We have an update from the Supreme Court. Also, public sector workers face possible delays in accessing their pension as Controller and Accountant General's Department fails to transfer 1.2 billion cedis of contributions to SNIT. That's the latest from the Auditor General's report.
The Auditor General recommends to management to enforce Section 64 of the Act to recover all outstanding balance of the SNIT Security Fund contribution to ensure retirement income security for workers.
Parliament has meanwhile described the development as unacceptable and is moving to summon the Controller and Accountant General before the Employment Committee ahead of the Public Accounts hearing into the report.
It is a deliberate effort by the state to deny SNET of the needed funds for investment in order to use the money for other purposes.
Meanwhile, the National Development Planning Commission says it has implemented fresh and far-reaching measures to prevent recurrence of damning infractions identified by the Auditor General in the year 2016.
All these three incidents which you've enumerated, the issues with the consultants, the issue with the food poisoning, and the issue with the scholarship, the shipment, all took place in 2016.
Also in this bulletin, power consumers brace themselves for dark days after Gridco announced extension of power outages.
It's very important that at least they let us know and understand with the schedule what we should expect.
There's nothing we can do as it were. I mean, if they say that this is going to improve the service, yes, we will hold on and hope that it actually improves.
We have more as consumers share the impact on the unannounced power cuts on their daily lives. In sports,
recently attacked club Bofako Tano are urging the Ghana Football Association to employ punitive measures to eradicate hooliganism in Ghana football. We'll hear from their communications director later.
And Ghana takes delivery of more AstraZeneca vaccines today as it begins phase 2 of the COVID-19 immunization program nationwide. In our Ghana Man series, we'll take you to an important town in the Bono East Region, Boyem. We'll tell you how this town played a crucial role after the war between the Ashantis and the Bono people.
Here is a secret place that they can stay because it has been surrounded by the rock, and due to the rocks, they can easily protect themselves.
We have that and more here on the Midday News with me, Emefa Apau. And we are your home of independent, fearless and credible journalism. Welcome once again. And the Supreme Court has affirmed its earlier decision, which stated that the whole High Court erred when it granted an injunction against the gazetting of John Peter Amewu as Hohoe MP-elect. The 7-member panel that reviewed the decision of the original 5-member panel stated that no errors of law were committed by the judges to merit setting aside the decision. Some residents of Santro Kofi, Akpafu, Likpe and Lolo Nazasal dragged Hohoe MP-elect John Peter Amewu and the EC to the High Court. They contended that by not being allowed to vote in the December 2020 primary elections, their rights have been breached, or parliamentary elections, I should say. The Supreme Court has once again pronounced on the matter. Our court correspondent Joseph Akable joins me in studio with more. Joseph, run us through the original 5 judges who heard the case and which judges joined.
It had Justice Yawapel presiding. The other judges were Samuel Mafusau, Gertrude Tokonu, Clemens Onyenuga, and Isifu Moro Tanko. Justice Onyenuga was later replaced by Justice Lovelace Avril Johnson. And in terms of the new 2 that joined the 5 to make 7, they were Justices Yoni Kolendi and Professor Henrietta Mensah-Bonsu.
Okay, so let's talk about the court's ruling today.
The court did not read the full judgment except to indicate that, as far as is concerned, the initial decision of the court stands. And that initial decision, recall, did indicate that when a law prescribes a means of challenging any process. It is that process alone that must be used to challenge it. And so, if you have issues about an election that has taken place and you want to challenge it, file an election petition. If you have a human rights issue and you feel that your rights have been breached, file a human rights issue at the High Court. You can't file a human rights issue that your voting rights have been breached, yet you are asking for reliefs that an election should be annulled. And those reliefs, the court said, can only be granted through an election petition, and once that has not been filed, you should not do that. Mr. Chikata, who represented the SAR residents, had argued that that decision of the court was wrong, but the court disagreed with him and by a unanimous 7-0 decision dismissed this particular one.
Well, let's talk about the reactions of the parties, because this is the second time this year that Mr. Chikata is appearing before the Supreme Court on election-related matters, second defeat in this issue. But let's talk about the reaction of the parties.
Mr. Chikata responded to the courts in terms of after the decision had been rendered, they indicated they were satisfied, but the residents, we understand, are very unhappy about the turn of events because they had felt that this was something that the Supreme Court could take a second look at and arrive at a different conclusion. The Attorney General, Godfrey Adame, was in court himself. He said, he told us that he is satisfied with this decision and that he expects it to be abided by in terms of going forward.
How about the residents themselves?
So they are also worried because as it stands now, it means that they did not participate in the December 7 elections. They do not have an MP in the current parliament, and they are not clear in their mind what should happen going forward.
Well, that's our court correspondent, Joseph Akable. Subsequently, we'll get more reactions on this. Thank you. But we'll move to the Auditor General's report. And this time, the Social Security and National Insurance Trust ability to pay pension on time is under threat as the Controller and Accountant General fails to transfer 1.2 billion cedis of public sector workers' contribution to the trust. The conclusion is captured in the Auditor General's report on public boards, corporations, and other statutory institutions for 2019. As my colleague Elton John Brobe reports, the development, according to the Auditor General, poses a major threat to retirement incomes.
Section 3 of the National Pension Act 2008 Act 766 states that out of the total contribution of 18.5%, an employer shall within 14 days from the end of each month transfer the following remittance to the mandatory scheme on behalf of each worker: 13.5% to the first-tier mandatory basic national security scheme and 5% to the second-tier mandatory occupational pension scheme. Section 64 of the Act 766 provides that in case of default, a sum equal to 3% per month of the contribution payable shall be added to the contribution due as penalty. According to the Auditor General, the review of the Social Security Fund contribution in respect of employee deduction of 5%, together with employers' contribution of 13.5% for 2016, amounting to 491 million Ghana cedis, had not been remitted to the trust by the Controller and Accountant General as at the time of the audit. The report also noted that out of the total bill of 2.492 billion Ghana cedis submitted by SNIT, the Controller and Accountant General paid only 1.7 billion Ghana cedis, leaving a balance of 1.2 billion Ghana cedis. For the Auditor General, failure to remit the contribution to the trust could result in the following: non-investment in the first year of workers' contribution on time to ensure value for money, non-transfer of second tier to National Pension Regulatory Authority for onward transfer to the trustee for timely investment, non-transfer of 2.5% of National Health Insurance levy to the scheme to enable timely transfer to the service providers in order to ensure delivery of quality health service. The trust's ability to pay pension on time may be hampered and thereby pose a threat to retirement income security to workers. The Auditor General recommends to management to enforce Section 64 of the Act to recover all outstanding balance of the SNIT Security Fund contribution to ensure retirement income security for workers.
Well, let's dig deeper into that document and also the response from the Controller and Accountant General. Elton Brobe joins me in studio. Elton, so what exactly is the explanation that the Controller gave for his inability to transfer the money to SNIT?
So, according to the Controller, SNIT management over the past 2 years, they've engaged and continue to engage the Controller and Accountant General's Department, Ministry of Finance, for the settlement of the outstanding contributions. SNIT, according to them, has held a series of meetings and sent a number of correspondence to the Controller with copies to Ministry of Finance, the MPRA, in respect of the outstanding contributions. So this is where we are now. According to these discussions, resulted in the payment of 430 million Ghana cedis of the outstanding debt and a tradable bond of 235 million Ghana cedis as of June 2019. Therefore, total payment is 665.4 million Ghana cedis. The 1.2 billion Ghana cedis still outstanding, and it's something that response has not been provided as far as that particular matter is concerned.
Okay, so the Auditor General also raised issues with the Controller and Accountant General about the failure of some banks to transfer direct payment of up to 26 million Ghana cedis, which is first year due the Bank of Ghana.
They say that the trust entered into an agreement titled SNIT Pension Contribution Collection Service Agreement with 21 banks to receive the first tier and second tier contribution of workers on trusts on behalf for on-one transfer into designated account at the Bank of Ghana. Now they've listed the banks, about 6 of them so far. Now in between them, they are holding 17.1 million Ghana cedis. Now according to the controller, they are in touch with the banks. They are actually giving them a penalty of 3% for their failure to release the money, and they are working to ensure that the 17.1 million outstanding is taken from the accounts of these banks to the Bank of Ghana.
And how many banks exactly are these?
So far, we have 9
Okay.
banks that are in defaults, and in between them, 17.1 million Ghana cedis.
Thank you very much, Elton. Well, the report will be laid in Parliament, and then the Public Accounts Committee, as usual, will sit on it and get answers from the various institutions as put out by the Auditor General. But ahead of that, the Employment and Social Welfare Committee have been speaking on this. Listen to Ranking Member on the committee, Dr. Kwabena Donkor, describing the development as unacceptable.
For if the state, as per the report, has been unwilling to transfer to SNIT, I say unwilling deliberately. I mean, it doesn't wash for the controller to claim that the banks have been unable to transfer. I mean, say that to the Marines. It doesn't wash. So it is a deliberate effort by the state to deny SNIT of the needed funds for investment in order to use the money for other purposes. And I believe this is unacceptable. The state has a responsibility to set a good example as an employer.
Even though I know that the report itself is yet to be taken by the Public Accounts Committee, where, as is custom with Parliament, you may invite those identifying a report to provide further particulars on the issues raised by the Auditor General. But beyond that, what will the minority group do to protect workers' pension and retirement?
Well, I have received, and I believe every MP has a copy of the report. Once it's laid before Parliament, the process kicks in. First of all, the Committee on Employment will have to invite the appropriate people to come and explain why the situation has been at.
That's the ranking member on the Employment Committee of Parliament, Dr. Kwabena Donkor. We'll stay a while longer on the Auditor General's report, this time focusing on the National Development Planning Commission, NDPC, and they say they've implemented fresh and far-reaching measures to prevent recurrence of damning infractions identified by the Auditor General in the year 2016. The 2019 report highlighted financial anomalies, including over 800,000 cedis spent on consultancy fees without official receipts, also over 400,000 cedis spent on medical bills for food poisoning of staff, which did not also have official receipts, plus an amount of 17,422 cedis scholarship as travel time and shipment allowance without supporting documents. The Commission, whilst admitting the infractions occurred in 2016, revealed that major steps have been taken to repair the damage caused. The Director General of the Commission, Dr. Kojo Esia Mensah Brampa, has been interacting with me.
The report is up to 31st December 2019, but it does not state that these things happened in 2019, as has been captured by some of the press titles. All these 3 incidents which you've enumerated, the issues with the consultants, the issue with the food poisoning, and the issue with the scholarship, the shipment, all took place in 2016. Yes. No, it's 4 years ago.
But the report is 2019 Auditor General's report.
That's the title of the report. It's ending 2019, which means that it takes care of all the 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019 issues. You remember that was the time the 40-year development plan was being prepared by the National Development Planning Commission. And so there were a lot of consultancy were given out for consultants to do that in 2016. So when they finished, in 2016, a lot of them were paid. Usually in an accounting system, when you receive a check, you sign, that you have received the check. And these things were done. But when the check is taken up by the organization or by individual, the request of the auditor was that there must be an explicit receipt issued by the receiver of the check. Instead of just endorsing that I've received the check, the person must also issue a receipt. So this was outstanding. She's still a current staff who has been, yes, she's here. So it's not somebody who has gone far away that we're going to chase, no.
But if she's still here, like you say, and two issues comes up, that she's not the only one that you've given such scholarship to.
No.
So it's interesting that it's only her case that this issue about providing receipts has come up. And if she's still here, how come by 2019 when this report was being put together, she didn't satisfy all that for it to be captured in the report?
As I said, the once it's an interaction, because once an audit query is made, it's incumbent upon the institution to respond, and it has to be in writing with all the evidence, so that because it could shift from one auditor to another, and that's what exactly happened. The person who audited and came out with the queries, at the time that they were responding to, the person wasn't there to pick the information. The money was spent in 2016. Okay, because 2019, we know our budget. It doesn't come anywhere near this when it comes to consultancy. And it is at the time that the commission has decided. In 2018, the commission decided, that was a new commission headed by Professor Ade. And Professor Stephen Ade's commission decided that a lot of the work which are done by consultants should be done by internal staff.
That's Dr. Kojo Esiam Mensah Brampa, Director General of the National Development Planning Commission, NDPC. I'll take you to Parliament now, where 4 majority MPs have filed 2 counter motions requesting Parliament to investigate electoral-related violence since the inception of the Fourth Republic. This comes after 6 minority MPs, led by the Minority Leader Haruna Idrisu, filed a motion on the floor of the House for Parliament to investigate circumstances leading to the violence during the 2020 polls. My colleague Kwesi Parker-Wilson joins us with more on this. Kwesi, give us the breakdown of what exactly these 4 majority MPs are also looking for.
Okay, so you read the first motion. Now, the second motion, they are asking the House to investigate the ethnic, gender, regional, and other sectional backgrounds of persons recruited into the security forces since January 1993 to establish the level of ethnic, regional, and gender balance in the recruitment and appointment of such public officers and make appropriate recommendations. Now, the NDC's motion was talking about the recruitment processes into the security agencies since 2017, since the MPP came to power. So these are the 2 similar motions being filed by the 2 different groups within Parliament, or the NDC and the NPP. Now, I've gotten some reaction from the NDC. They say they welcome the motion from the NPP, but what they will oppose is the formation of a committee to investigate these issues. What they want is that separate committees will be constituted to look into the matter. So that has been the position of the NDC on this issue.
So who are these 4 majority MPs?
So majority MPs are Alexander Fenyomakin, Frank and the Mr. Oti Region, that is Obiamwa, as we popularly call it.
Well, that's my colleague Parker Wilson, the parliamentary correspondent, bringing us the latest. In case you didn't hear the names, is Alexander Fenyomakin, Frank Anodompre, Samuel Atachia, and Oti Bonsu Amwa, Obiamwa, filing a counter motion. There's a private member's motion also asking that we investigate presidential and general elections violence resulting in injuries and loss of lives and make consequential recommendations. And they wanted to go as far back as 1993. This is the Midday News here on Joy 99.7 FM. And consumers say they have no choice than to find ways to survive the dark days ahead after power transmitter Gridco indicated intensifying power cuts to facilitate an upgrade of their systems. Before this, parts of the country, especially Kumasi, have been subjected to unannounced cuts. Some consumers have been sharing with Joy News their experiences, mostly impacting their daily routines and businesses.
Last night, it went on and off, on and off, on and off, on and off. So if I have my AC on or if I have my fridge on, you keep damaging the equipment.
Taking the light off just like that is giving it a whole lot of problems. Right now, it's off.
We are suffering. Ghanaians are suffering. Seriously, just this
weekends, we were just experiencing doom of the light several times.
For some, there's no alternative than to brace up for the worst.
At least they let us know and understand with the schedule what we should expect.
I used to work on a gas house whereby we have to make sure that the power supply will be stable for us so that our business can also be moving on. All we want the government to make sure that he settled this problem for us.
People live here, so people should be aware that this is what's going to happen.
Meanwhile, Great Coast Corporate Communications Manager Ebenezer Abankwa explains the timetable will be out soon for consumers to help them regulate their routines from now till July. He spoke on PM Express.
These projects are spread across the country. In Accra, for example, you have the Pokwasi substation construction. You have the Kaswa bulk supply point construction. You have a stringing of the Achimota Volta transmission line. And so when you look across the value chain, there are key projects ongoing just to boost transmission accessibility, reliability, and also distribution. And these are projects that have required some outages to be conducted. The contractors are asking for some outages at some particular phases. And so these are the areas where we are looking at a discussion with the key stakeholders like ECG and NETCO, so we can arrive at some appreciable timetable to communicate where there's a need for outages to happen.
That's the Corporate Communications Manager of Greatco, Ebenezer Abankwa, there speaking on PM Express last night. Our top stories in this bulletin pushed by some residents of Santro Kofi, Akpafu, Lolobi and Likpe in the Oti region to challenge election of John Peter Meu as Hohoi MP fails yet again. We brought you updates from the Supreme Court proceedings today. Still to come after successfully captivating fans' hearts with an intriguing telenovela, Fearless Hearts, Ghana's hub of real entertainment, Joy Prime, is set to double the fan with a new drama dubbed The Blood Sisters. Stay with me, I'll tell you more. And in our Ghana Man series, we'll take you to an important town in the Bono East region, Boyem.
Here is a secret place that they can stay because it has been surrounded by the rock, and due to the rocks, they can easily protect themselves.
Thanks for staying with us. It's time for sports. Oreko Ampofo.
Thank you, MFR. Now, recently attacked club, Bofo Akotano embraced the reaction of the Ghana Football Association to ban Wamanafo Park after fans of the club engaged in hooliganism where match officials and Bofo Akotano officials were assaulted. Now, their communications director, Evans Prempe, is calling on the Football Association to employ more punitive measures to help stop such incidents.
We welcome the decision of the Ghana Football Association as a club to ban the Omanafo Community Park indefinitely from hosting football activities. But we still believe that there should be much stiffer punishment for the club this time around so that it will deter other people from repeating what has just happened. You know, life is precious and we need to protect the lives of not only the match officials but players, management members, and then also that of supporters who will be attending matches, especially now that the FA has decided to lift the ban on supporters attending matches.
Well, the Ghana Football Association say that they are currently involved in an investigation and would be waiting for the results there before they do take action. So we'll be providing you updates with that, and that's your sport for now.
Thank you very much, and we'll be waiting for that update. It's a good time to take you around the country in terms of what's happening in the various regions. Joseph Vakable joins me in studio. Joseph, where are we heading first?
You recall earlier this month we reported how a man, Akwesi Ajiman, allegedly set his home ablaze, killing one child and injuring many others. Today, his fiancée, Patient Kwating, who suffered burns together with two of her children, says she's struggling to pay medical bills for herself and children.
Doctor na wo hweme no kulu ndo be twetwe ma me se me nkoto no nye nuru kitu o se no so ne betimi aboa me.
The surviving twin is still at the hospital. My mother spends about 300 cedis on drugs alone for her every 3 days. The last girl is well. She wasn't burnt as the two of us. I now sacrifice food for myself to take care of of the medical bills.
Sad situation there. From the Ashanti region, which is Medoma, let's head to the northeast region, and there's renewed violence between two chieftaincy factions at Jopal in Triponi district. What's the reason for all of this, and what's the police doing about it?
According to the police, they say it's over the rightful occupants of the Jopal skin. During the exchange of gunfire, one person died. Regional Police Crime Officer Superintendent Duga tells Joy News that two parallel chiefs have been arrested and currently in custody.
Now let's move to the Oti region, where activities of herdsmen and around in Kunya, Bumbula in the Biakoye district is affecting the economic activities, according to residents.
They say they are unable to engage in farming activities and harvest their crops in one piece because the herdsmen have become so aggressive and attack them on their farms.
The cattle have destroyed our farms and crops. We can't go to our farms anymore. We are scared they will attack us. The forest areas have now become grasslands due to activities of the herdsmen. Animals have been eating our cassava crops on the farms, and when we complain, they say it is just a little portion of the farm.
Now let's go to the Upper East region, Joseph, because it's a daily struggle for drinking water at the Zinga Tangazo community at Calbeo. Tell me more.
Often after filling just two basins, the water stops flowing and community members have to wait for several hours before they can get a little water again. Correspondent Albert Sori has the rest of the story.
I arrive to what appears to be a normal everyday activity as this young girl pumps water and fills her plastic basin. Everything appears to be going well until the third person in line takes his turn. He pumps for less than a minute. The water stops flowing. Ayimbire Adira, whose turn it is to fetch the water, is trying to fill up his little plastic bucket for an evening shower. But his aggressive pumping of this borehole is yielding no results. About 5 minutes have now passed. The water is now only flowing like obstructed urine. Adira is exhausted. When we come here, we sweat a lot from pumping the borehole, and we only get 2 basins of water if we are lucky. In the rainy seasons, we harvest water from the rains, so that helps. But in the dry season like this, we don't get much water.
And we are told it's not just the Upper East region, Northern region also grappling with the water situation. Joseph, what's the next stop?
From the Upper East region, we head to the Bono East region. And this time around, for our Ghana Man series, we tell you the story of Boyim, translated as In the Belly of the Rock.
Historically, you can't trace the history of the Bono people without factoring Boyam. We are told that this place became a safe haven for them during those days when they had a beef with the Ashantis.
So they settled here at their first place, where they discovered that here is a secret place that they can stay because it has been surrounded by the rock, and due to the rocks they can easily protect themselves.
Years later, the Boyam chief sent one of his nephews to settle in what we now know as the capital of the Bono East region, Techiman, due to its strategic location. Little did he know that Techiman would later grow bigger than Boyam.
Due to the fight, the chief allowed his nephew to go and settle on the junction, so that when any stranger is coming, he should inform him that the chief himself is in Boyam.
The Boyam community, apart from being a safe haven for the Bonos when they moved from Bono Manso, has a lot of historical tourist sites. Key amongst them are 3 different waterfalls, the African Rock, Bat Caves, amongst others. We managed to visit some of these sites. First, the Bibri Waterfalls.
We call here Bibri Waterfalls. It calls its name because the stream is very powerful. In the olden days, when we are just going to take any examination, they used all the students to be here to bath in this water. After the bathing, when you go, everybody will pass without paying anything.
Boyem, a place I must visit. Like, now let's talk about showbiz and my pizza Savidis in the studios. What do we have?
All right, so if you loved our telenovela Fearless Heart
I
on Joy
loved
Prime,
it.
I know, right? It was very exciting. Another exciting telenovela is coming, and it's called The Blood Sisters. The story is about triplets who were separated at birth and the hustle they had to endure to become united again. Blood Sisters will run on Joy Prime every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday at 8 p.m. So you don't want to miss it. And it starts today. So today, join me on the Joy Prime channel at 8 p.m. so that we can all watch Blood Sisters.
I join you. I'm already there.
You're already there. Also, if you want to join us, we have a spontaneous conversation on the chat room show on Fridays at 8 p.m. to recap on the weekly events of these three marvelous sisters.
Thank you very much, Mapitso. And that's it for the Midday News here on Joy 99.7 FM. Stories that you've been reading on myjoyonline.com. Supreme Court dismisses Sal case was our top story also. Asiedun Ketia appointed to Parliamentary Service Board, and you've been commenting on that. Asepa Boss believes Speaker may just order Health Minister's arrest for snubbing Parliament. That and more on myjoyonline.com you'd want to catch. Living Word with Pastor Mensa Otabil. Relationship Part 4. Up next, I am MFR Pau. Thanks for your company.
You've worked hard for your money, and that is why we are constantly creating more secure and innovative ways for you to keep your money safe everywhere you go. Experience a safer and more secure way to do all your transactions with MTN Mobile. Present your national ID, voter's ID, NHI